Okay, so we're just going to be doing what we did last lesson, but they're going to be a bit more complicated. Okay, so first of all, just to remind you what we did last lesson when we were multiplying a pair of brackets. So it doesn't matter what the numbers are, I just want to remind you what the process was. Okay, so we were doing these claws. So we take that first number, and multiply it by the first one. Let's see what colour is that colour coming out very well. That's a bit light, isn't it? Let's see if it gets better when it. Yes, that's okay. So we take that first term in the first bracket and multiply it by the first term in the second bracket. We then go and multiply it by the second term. So we've used up that first term. All right, we've multiplied both bits in the second bracket. We then move over to the second term. I think it's easier now to put the clause underneath. So we do the second term times the first term, and then finally the second term times the final one. So that's the 4 clause. And remember, all of these clause we are multiplying. When you do the clause, it's always multiplying. So that was the expanding bit. That was getting rid of the brackets. And we'd end up with something like, say, x squared plus 3x plus 4x plus 5, say, something like that. Okay, so, and then the second bit was where you had to simplify, because it would say expand and simplify. The simplifying bit was just gathering those x's in the middle. So your final answer would be, say, x squared plus 7x plus 5. So that's what we did last lesson. Now the complication this lesson is that we are going to start involving negatives. So I just want to do a couple of examples involving negatives and then let you get on with the work, please. So let's imagine we've got x plus 2 multiplied by x minus 4. So claw number 1 is going to be x times x, which is x squared. Now claw number 2 is x times minus 4. Now that x is a positive x, so x times minus 4. Remember, when you multiply and one of them is a positive and the other is a negative, overall you get a negative. So that's going to be minus 4x. That's our second claw. Then our third claw, well, that's just an easy one. That's just 2 times x. Both of them are pluses, so that's plus 2x. And then our fourth claw is 2 times minus 4. And again, because that's a positive times a negative, that's going to be minus 8. Okay, and then that final step, when we gather like terms, just be ever so careful, okay? When we're gathering up that, we've got minus 4, and then we're adding together to that 2. So think about if you're on a number line, okay? If you're on minus 4, and you add 2 to that, you end up on minus 2. So it's going to be minus 2x will be that middle bit. Minus 2x will be that middle bit. Okay, so just be careful when you're doing that gathering at the end. That's adding and subtracting. You've got to think number line. Okay, so when you're doing the clause, you're multiplying. But when you're gathering at the end, you are adding and subtracting. You're thinking number line. So our final answer here would have been x squared minus 2x minus 8. I'm just going to shut the door for a second. Just give me a sec. Okay, so that's my first example. The second example I want to do is where we've got 2 negatives. So imagine we're doing x minus 2 times x minus 3. Okay, so claw number 1, x times x is x squared. Claw number 2, let's change colour. X times minus 3 is going to be minus 3x because it's a positive times a negative. Our third claw, minus 2 times x minus 2x. Again, it's a positive times a negative. And then that fourth claw, be very careful here. Oh, there's a bit of a lag. I'm just going to wait for this to catch up. So that claw number 3 was minus 2 times x, which is minus 2x. And I'm just doing that green claw now, minus 2 times minus 3. Now, remember, when there's two negatives being multiplied together, you get a positive. A negative times a negative is a positive. So that will be plus 6 on the end. Now, when we do that gathering up, the plus 6 stays as it is. The x squared stays as it is. But be very careful when you do that gathering up. Remember, this is when you think number line. If you are on minus 3 on the number line, and you take away another 2, that takes you to minus 5. Okay, that takes you to minus 5. So minus 3x minus 2x is minus 5x. So you've got to be ever so careful not to get into a muddle here. So to recap, when it's the clause, you are multiplying and you just follow the multiplication rules. So a plus number times a plus number is a plus, a minus times a minus is also a plus, and where the signs are different, so it's a plus times a minus, you get a minus. Now that second step where you are gathering like terms and you're gathering those x's together, that's where you've got to think number line. You're adding and subtracting, and you just move up and down the number line. So that's it for me for the recording part of it. So I'm just going to stop the recording. And we'll do when it comes up. So stop recording, and the recording will stop.